All right. Welcome, everybody. So we have the person that needs no introduction here, Sam Altman, my former boss and now the CEO of OpenAI. Sam, thanks for taking the time here. I know schedules couldn't align.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, but glad we get to do this.
Yeah, thank you. So jumping right in. So you've spoken about the trade-off between privacy, utility, and safety in AI and AI development. Autonomous vehicles themselves generate, a terabyte an hour in some cases of data. How do you all think about those trade-offs, in this kind of data-rich environment for enterprises?
One thing that we're super happy about is that we can deliver all of the utility an enterprise possibly needs now with the safety and privacy and data protection that an enterprise would expect. And that wasn't super clear to us when we started with the technology. We're like, oh, this is going to be really hard. How are we going to ever train these models? But with what we're able to do with fine tunes and with in-context learning and with all of the other techniques that we and other companies have developed, we can give you data privacy. We don't need to train on your data if you don't want to. We can tune if you do, and still offer these incredible quality services that people need. So it wasn't obvious to us a few years ago that we were going to be able to do this, and it was a big thing people worried about a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has this antiquated view that the only way you build this is through scraping publicly available information, or yeah. So that's great to know.
Yeah, the way to think about these, I think, is, sure, you can use these as a database if you want, but these models, but they're the world's worst, slowest, most expensive databases. Really, this is a reasoning engine, and we train it because it can do this reasoning ability, which you can then use and point at any private data source you'd like.
So speaking of Fortune 500 companies, many of these companies, something like 1 out of 4, are saying that AI regulation is a risk. And how do you think AI regulation is going to unfold over the next few years? I mean, the most kind of recent thing here is the EU passed this AI Act in California. There's this bill that you guys are actively talking about, adding watermarks to synthetic data. What's your views?
There will be regulation, like there's regulation for any other sort of really impactful technology. And I think that's mostly a good thing. We won't always get it right, and different countries will learn from each other. And I'm sure some very bad regulation that has to get repealed will get passed at some point. But this is going to be a very impactful thing over time. And I think regulation actually makes it easier for people to adopt in many ways, although it will, of course, provide some stumbling blocks too.
Is there anything you've seen that's refreshing in terms of anywhere in the globe or any kind of evolving thinking which says, hey, this is going in the right direction?
I think the focus on safety institutes is a good idea. I think it's probably too early to go try to write up here's exactly the code. But the idea we want government agencies to start testing models before release, that feels really good. I think this is a way for the governments to learn. And
yeah, I mean, in automotive, if you look at pre software, how do you test airbags and how do you test the crash viability of a vehicle is through standardized structured tests. So there's some precedence there. Moving on here, last month, Hot Chips 2024, OpenAI shared that compute used for training kind of frontier AI models is growing significantly, 4 to 5x a year. How do you think this then goes over to scalable infrastructure, and how is that going to impact the industry, broadly speaking?
The trend towards scaling our infrastructure needs, cost, everything you want has been awesome. 2 years ago, ancient history now, GPT-3 was the best model in the world. GPT-3 cost 100 times what GPT-4o costs now per token. 4o is also a dramatically better model than GPT-3 was. So if you think about in 2 years that inference effective gain, that's remarkable. And I expect that trend to continue. Now, as you bring the cost down and the quality up, people will use it more and more. But the cost per unit of intelligence, I expect to keep falling on this precipitous decline, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. With ChatGPT, you've been quite honest about shipping imperfect products and relying on kind of this tight feedback loop. High stakes industries like automotive, you have a lot of automotive executives in the room. How should they think about that trade-off when you're pushing kind of frontier AI?
Yeah, you shouldn't have used GPT-3 when it first came out, probably for like a life and death thing. Yeah, as we tried to say. But we are building towards robust enough systems that I think automotive will be able to use it. And, that's like the normal shape of development of new technology. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. You had a Moore's Law post in 2021. You said AI will drive down costs towards zero by reducing, many kinds of labor costs. What do you think this means for manufacturing heavy industries like commercial trucking or construction mining?
It should drive down cost a lot, but there's two parts to that. It'll drive down cost for things we want to be cheap, and then things that we want to be expensive in the future, art, like DRC wine, whatever, that will be really, really expensive. And that's good because like the economic surplus that it's going to generate has got to go sink somewhere.
Last question before we hand it over to James. You spent this year pitching ChatGPT for enterprises, a lot of Fortune 500 leaders. What themes are you hearing back as you guys have engaged in those conversations?
We're amazed how much enterprises have already adopted this. Like, it hasn't been out that long. I think of enterprise normally as a very slow thing. The fact that people are like telling me about things I didn't even know the product could do that, that companies are using it for, like, that was not how I was told enterprise sales was going to go. And that's been fun.
Well, Sam, I'd say that's how it goes for OpenAI. I'm not sure if it goes that way for everybody else. So it's a positive sign for you guys and the company. Congrats on all the success you guys have had. Thank you for the time. We'll hand it over to James. Appreciate it.
Thank you.